If you really love someone and you hurt them, you need to try not to do it that way again. And oops, I'm sorry doesn't always cut it.
Nothing. What are you talking about?
You shooter, man. You've been dealing me cards for an hour.
I expected my mind, the arrogance of it just blows my mind. My arrogance.
I think you'll like it, Willie. I think he got to you.
Why didn't you tell me, huh?
Ow!
Tell me.
There wasn't any way to explain it.
Welcome back, y'all. You know Hollywood always loves to serve up those fairy tale romances. But honey, none can compare to the whirlwind passion between Ali MacGraw and Steve McQueen. They were the definition of temptation and rebellion. A power couple that had the whole world eating out the palm of their hands. But baby, behind all that glitz and glam, it was a love story drenched in drama, sacrifices, and heartbreak around every corner. Ali MacGraw, the jaw-dropping beauty who snatched hearts with her role in Love Story, got caught up in the blazing fire of Steve McQueen, the king of cool. Now, Steve had that rugged bad boy charm, but trust, he carried some serious baggage from a messy childhood. When these two locked eyes on the set of The Getaway, baby, Hollywood went up in flames with gossip and frenzy. But was their fiery love a fairy tale dream, or a hot mess waiting to happen? If you stan Ali MacGraw and want the tea on her roller coaster relationships, hit that one in the comments, and stay tuned. We're spilling the truth about what went down behind the glamorous facade, a love tangled in jealousy, control issues, and deep emotional scars. What did Ali really sacrifice for this all-consuming passion? And did she ever reclaim her light after living in the shadows of such a stormy marriage? Now let's roll it back to their beginnings. Ali MacGraw came into this world in 1939, shaped by the fires of a rocky upbringing. Growing up in New York, she was the child of two creative but troubled souls. Her dad, a brilliant painter tormented by mental struggles, left the family drowning in uncertainty. Meanwhile, her mama, strong as steel, held it all together, raising two kids through thick financial struggles. Ali grew up witnessing fiery arguments, sleepless nights filled with worry, and a constant cloud of insecurity. But don't get it twisted, Ali didn't crumble. Oh no, sis turned that shaky foundation into fuel, becoming a woman with fierce drive and big dreams. She wasn't just trying to escape her past, she was determined to own her future. Ali stepped into the fashion world with that timeless beauty of hers, and quickly became a top-tier model. But Hollywood? Oh, that was her true ticket to greatness. Her breakout role as Brenda Potemkin in Goodbye, Columbus back in '69 turned heads and set the stage for what was coming next. But honey, it was her performance as Jenny in Love Story in 1970 that shot her straight into the stratosphere. The world fell in love with Ali MacGraw, stunning, delicate, yet so full of life. But let's keep it real. Behind those Hollywood lights, she was still that wounded little girl, craving the love and stability she never had. And then we have Steve McQueen, the icon, the rebel, the man everyone wanted to be. But as a child, his story wasn't all glitz either. Born in 1930, Steve's life started in the shadows of loneliness and rejection. His father vanished before Steve could even crawl, leaving him with a mother who just couldn't give him the love he needed. She shipped him off to relatives, and baby, those years bouncing between homes, orphanages, and foster families, they left some deep scars. By the time Steve hit his teens, he was a full-blown rebel, always in trouble, and eventually ending up in reform school. But here's the twist. That reform school was where Steve learned how to tough it out and trust no one but himself. From all that pain, McQueen found his escape. He fell in love with speed, racing motorcycles, tearing through streets, and feeling the rush of freedom like no one could take it from him. Steve's rebel soul and magnetic charm couldn't be ignored. And trust, Hollywood was paying attention. McQueen didn't just step into the film industry, he stormed in, making waves no one could calm. With legendary roles in The Magnificent Seven, The Great Escape, and Bullet, he wasn't just an action star. Nah, Steve McQueen was the definition of cool, a man who seemed fearless. But deep down, зрение, он все еще был этим раненым мальчиком, сражающимся с призраками abandonment. Now picture this, two blazing flames, both cracked in ways that would never fully heal. Ali MacGraw and Steve McQueen, two people with tragic backstories, collided in the glittering world of Hollywood. Their meeting? Baby, that wasn't random. It was like fate said, let's stir up some drama. Their love story wasn't just passion, it was fire and darkness all tangled up. Both carried scars and fears. And when they came together, it was electric. Beautiful, but so dangerous. And then came The Getaway. It was 1972, the Texas sun was blazing, and on that movie set, Destiny decided to throw Ali MacGraw and Steve McQueen into each other's orbit. This wasn't just another action flick. Oh no, it was the start of a love affair that would shake both their lives to the core. At the time, Ali was Hollywood royalty. After her heart-wrenching performance in Love Story, She was the face of romance, elegance, and tender sorrow. But stepping onto the Getaway set, she wasn't just playing a new role. She was stepping out of her comfort zone. This gritty part demanded her to leave that fragile leading lady vibe behind. And as if that wasn't nerve-wracking enough, there was Steve McQueen, Mr. Arrogant yet oh so magnetic, with a reputation that spoke louder than words. Steve McQueen, the king of cool, was everything they said and more. With those devil-may-care vibes and piercing blue eyes that could stop traffic, he wasn't just a man, he was a moment. And Allie, she felt the full weight of his presence from the jump. Steve McQueen was that man who could snatch anyone's attention with his raw, untamed energy and a vibe that screamed, "Don't you dare try to hold me down." Known for those iconic action roles, his off-screen allure was just as potent, if not more. But behind that magnetic presence was a complicated, unpredictable man, scarred by his chaotic childhood, keeping folks at arm's length, even when the fire inside him blazed fiercely. When Allie and Steve locked eyes for the first time on the Getaway set, it was like a slow-motion explosion you couldn't look away from. Baby, the air between them, thick, heavy with tension, temptation, and something nobody could fake. Their chemistry was off the charts, way beyond the realm of acting. It was real, raw, and felt. As they played lovers on the run, the emotions weren't just Oscar-worthy performances, they were riding the waves of a genuine spark that had everyone on set buzzing. Allie found herself pulled into Steve's orbit, completely captivated by his dangerous edge and that reckless charm that made it impossible to look away. But this wasn't a fairy tale romance. Far from it. Allie was married to Robert Evans, a major Hollywood power player who had helped shape her entire career. Their marriage wasn't just some shiny arrangement for the cameras. It was a partnership built on years of mutual success and love. Robert adored Allie and gave her the stability she had always craved after her chaotic childhood. Then Steve McQueen blew in like a Category 5 hurricane, tearing through Allie's carefully built life. He wasn't about stability. Nah, he was pure adrenaline, a life lived on the edge, wild, thrilling, and ready to explode at any moment. On that Texas set, Allie and Steve couldn't keep their feelings under wraps. Every glance they stole, every subtle touch off camera, didn't just spark gossip, it screamed a connection too deep to deny. The film crew saw it plain as day. This wasn't just some on-screen romance scripted for the silver screen. It was something bigger, messier, and far more dangerous. An affair that could leave nothing untouched in its path. Despite the world's judgment, Allie dove into this love like a moth to a flame, completely blind to the fallout it could bring. In her memoir, Moving Pictures, she spilled all the tea about the irresistible grip Steve McQueen had on her. "From the moment Steve walked into my life, I was gone," she wrote. "Sometimes I felt like I couldn't even breathe, like the air was sucked out of the room when he was near." Their affair wasn't just love, it was a wildfire, beautiful to look at, but devastating to everything it touched. Steve wasn't the kind of man who gave out trust or security. He was a wounded soul, trapped by obsessions and haunted by ghosts from his past. Allie knew he was dangerous, but baby, that didn't stop her. She was hooked, drawn into his magnetic, all-consuming energy. This wasn't some sweet little romance. It was a storm, wild, electrifying, and destructive. Eventually, Allie made a choice that would change everything. She left Robert Evans for Steve, walking away from the stability and luxury that had once defined her life. When their affair hit the headlines, Hollywood went wild. The tabloids had a field day, spilling sensational stories and stirring relentless gossip. Everyone had their eyes on them, watching their every move. But beneath all that noise, the real story was pure chaos. Their love wasn't a glossy fairy tale. It was raw, messy, and filled with sacrifices neither could ever undo. In July 1973, under Hollywood's dazzling lights and the gaze of an adoring public, Allie MacGraw and Steve McQueen said, "I do." To the world, it looked like the ultimate power couple had sealed their happily ever after. But the truth? This marriage was a beautiful, perilous gamble, teetering on the edge of destruction. Behind those picture-perfect smiles and cozy public embraces, the truth was far from glamorous. Being married to Steve McQueen wasn't some dreamy romance. It was a grueling game where every move came with a heavy price for Allie. From the jump, Steve set the rules. First up, a prenuptial agreement, making sure Allie had no claim to a dime of his money if things fell apart. It was a clear reflection of the fear and distrust Steve carried from his broken past. But Allie, completely swept up in love, didn't even blink. She signed on the dotted line without hesitation, because in her eyes, all she saw was the man she couldn't live without. But let's be real, the real demands weren't on paper. Oh no, Steve's control came in the form of rules that suffocated Allie's very essence. The biggest? Giving up her flourishing acting career. That wasn't up for negotiation. Steve, ever the alpha male, couldn't handle the idea of his wife being admired and desired by other men. And Allie, she agreed, slowly losing pieces of herself to keep the peace. The irony of it all? While Steve demanded Allie surrender her dreams and independence, he lived life with zero restrictions. He partied hard, surrounded himself with beautiful women, and made no effort to hide his antics. Why? Because Steve McQueen played by his rules, and no one, not even Ali, could tell him otherwise. Ali was left stranded in the emotional wreckage, clinging to a love that was tearing her apart. She loved him fiercely, hoping against hope that her devotion could somehow heal the deep wounds Steve carried. But instead of fixing things, that hope pulled her deeper into a spiral of pain and emptiness. Eventually, reality hit hard. Ali came to understand that no amount of love could save someone who didn't want to change. Steve couldn't heal, and Ali couldn't keep living a life that had stripped her of everything she once was. The sacrifices she made, the dreams she buried, and the years she spent living in the shadows of Steve McQueen. Ali had given more of herself than she ever thought possible, but just when she thought she had nothing left to lose, the worst hit her like a sucker punch. When Ali dared to express her longing to return to acting, to reclaim the part of herself that had been silenced for so long, Steve didn't just protest, he threatened her. He warned her, cold as ice, that if she stepped back into Hollywood, he'd leave her. That was it, the breaking point, the final nail in the coffin of a love story that had once burned so bright but was now nothing but ashes. In that moment, Ali saw the truth clear as day. This wasn't love. It wasn't healing or redemptive. It was a storm that had torn her apart piece by piece. She knew it was time to stop drowning in the chaos and finally let go. This marriage wasn't a fairy tale. It was a hard, brutal lesson in love and loss. Ali MacGraw had loved Steve McQueen with every ounce of her being, sacrificing her dreams, her identity, her everything. But in the end, she came to realize that no amount of one-sided love could mend wounds that someone refused to heal themselves. By 1977, the so-called indestructible marriage of Ali MacGraw and Steve McQueen came crashing down, sending ripples of gossip through Hollywood's elite. But for Ali, this wasn't just the end of a high-profile romance. It was the destruction of a world she had poured her entire soul into building. The breakup didn't strike like a sudden storm. No, it crept in like a crack in a foundation, subtle at first, but relentless. Over time, it widened and deepened until the weight became unbearable, and everything crumbled. Ali MacGraw, once the epitome of Hollywood glamour and strength, was now a faint echo of the woman she used to be. She had given up her career, traded her fame, and even let go of her own identity to stand by the man she adored more than herself. But through all those years, all those sacrifices, Steve never acknowledged her pain, her effort, or the price she paid for loving him. Instead of finding safety and love, Ali found herself trapped in a prison of control, jealousy, and wounds that would never heal. For years, she held on to that marriage with every bit of strength she had, even as Steve's behavior grew darker, violent, and cruel. Even as he tightened the cage he'd built around her, she stayed, patient and hopeful, clinging to the dream that maybe, just maybe, he'd change. But dreams don't always come true, and Ali's hope slowly withered as Steve's grip only tightened, his control becoming unbearable. The breaking point came when Ali expressed the desire to return to acting, to reconnect with the woman she once was, the woman she loved being. Steve didn't just argue, he exploded. He delivered an ultimatum cold enough to freeze her soul. If she dared step back into Hollywood, he'd divorce her on the spot. This wasn't an empty threat, it was his law. And Ali, broken and drained, no longer had the fight left in her. She had given her youth, her career, and her very essence to a love that could never give her peace. The divorce hit Ali like a wrecking ball. She had given everything to Steve McQueen, and now she was walking away with nothing. That prenuptial agreement she'd signed in the haze of passion now felt like a cruel twist of fate. Ali left the marriage not just empty-handed but utterly shattered, her possessions gone, her reputation in tatters, her career a distant memory, and her self-worth completely stripped away. The once glowing star of Hollywood had become a forgotten woman, stepping out into the world as a shadow of her former self. The dignity, the glory, the sparkle of stardom, all of it was gone. But the price she paid didn't stop there. The aftermath was a haunting loneliness, an unbearable weight of failure that crushed her spirit. Ali had gambled her entire existence on this love, and now, with everything in ruins, she was left with an empty life, filled only with sorrow and regret. In the days following her divorce, Ali drifted through a dark void, her light completely dimmed, unsure of how to pick up the pieces of the life she once had. Ali had lost more than just Steve McQueen, the man she once loved with all her heart. She had lost herself in the wreckage of a toxic love that stripped her of everything, leaving her drowning in torment, regret, and self-blame. She replayed the mistakes in her mind, wondering how she ever got swept up in a love so consuming that it made her forget her own worth. But Steve McQueen, once the king of cool, didn't find the peace he might have hoped for after their split. His health rapidly declined, his reckless habits, alcohol, drugs, the whole self-destructive routine, only speeding up the inevitable. By 1980, Steve was gone, dead from a vicious form of cancer at the tender age of 50. He left behind an unmatched cinematic legacy, but also a tragic, unhealed life story. When Allie heard the news, it felt like a punch straight to the gut. Despite the heartbreak and the years of pain that had marked their relationship, she still loved him. A love like theirs wasn't easily erased. It burned too brightly to fade completely. Steve's passing wiped away any last shred of hope Allie might have had that one day, somehow, they could find peace, that the storm could settle, and they could make things right in their later years. That hope died with him. After the divorce, Allie fell into a downward spiral, drowning in her own sorrow. She turned to alcohol, using the numbing haze of drink to block out the pain that love and life had left her with. But even at her lowest, there was a spark in Allie, a fire that refused to be extinguished. She hit rock bottom, but deep inside, she knew she couldn't let herself be consumed by darkness forever. So, she made the decision to fight. Allie sought help at the Betty Ford Clinic, taking the first step on a long, grueling journey of self-healing and rediscovery. It was a brutal road, one full of setbacks and struggles, but Allie had faced worse. She had survived loving Steve McQueen, and if she could endure that, she knew she could handle whatever came next. Her recovery wasn't just about kicking the alcohol. It was about reclaiming her life, her power, and the woman she had once been. It was all about rebuilding herself, piece by piece. Slowly, Allie learned how to forgive herself, how to let go of the mistakes and misjudgments she'd made in the name of love. For so long, she'd given everything to someone else, losing herself in the process. But now, she was learning how to love herself again, something she had completely forgotten during all those years of sacrifice. By the time Allie emerged from the ashes of her tumultuous marriage, she wasn't the starry-eyed girl who would give up everything for love. She was a woman reborn, strong, resilient, and wiser than ever. She had learned the hard way that the cost of love could be too high, and there was nothing more precious than her own freedom and dignity. After the painful wreckage of her marriage to Steve McQueen, Allie had to face wounds much deeper than what the eye could see. These weren't just surface scars, they cut straight to the soul. She came out of that relationship a broken woman, stripped of everything: her fame, her career, her self-esteem, and her faith in love. All she had left were shattered fragments of a once glorious life, but she refused to let those pieces define her. To save herself, Allie had to embark on a journey of reinvention, to rediscover the woman she had lost in the rubble of sacrifice and control. The first step, confronting her battle with alcohol. In her darkest days, alcohol had been her escape, a way to dull the pain and fill the emptiness left by McQueen's chaotic love. But she quickly realized that alcohol was just a temporary fix. It was never going to get her out of the abyss. So, she made the brave choice to seek help at the Betty Ford Clinic, a sanctuary for women who had once soared to the highest heights, only to fall to the lowest lows. There, in that place of healing, Allie found a community of women who understood her struggles, and together, they fought to rebuild their lives. At the Betty Ford Clinic, Allie wasn't just the glamorous movie star anymore. She was simply a woman, raw and vulnerable, fighting to heal the emotional wounds she'd carried for far too long. The road to recovery wasn't easy. She had to dig deep, confront the pain she'd buried, and finally forgive herself for all the mistakes she'd made. But the hardest part? Letting go of that toxic love she had for McQueen. The same resilience that had helped her survive a turbulent childhood became the weapon she needed to beat her addiction. And beat it, she did. Allie didn't just shake off her dependence on alcohol. She found a peace within herself she had been craving for years, the kind of peace she'd never gotten while living in the shadow of a man who had once been her everything. Once she'd conquered her demons, Allie decided Hollywood just wasn't for her anymore. She was done with the glitzy, exhausting lights of Tinseltown. In 1994, she made the bold move to Santa Fe, New Mexico, leaving behind the world of fame and fortune. Santa Fe was the complete opposite of the whirlwind life in LA. Here, Allie wasn't the starlet, but just Allie, a woman on a quest to find herself, to live for herself, and to rediscover the simple joys she'd forgotten in the chaos. This quiet, peaceful town became her sanctuary, her place of rebirth. It was here that she started to reconnect with the values she had abandoned so many years ago. Yoga and meditation became her new lifelines, helping her nurture a version of herself she had long since lost track of. Yoga quickly became Allie's lifeline, helping her balance the chaos and find a sense of inner peace. But it wasn't just about her own healing anymore. She teamed up with yoga master Eric Schiffman to release the video Ali McGraw, Yoga Mind and Body, and let me tell you, it had a whole vibe. The video took off, bringing Hatha yoga to millions across the country, proving that Allie could still make a major impact, even without the glitz and glam of Hollywood. But don't get it twisted, Allie wasn't just all about self-care. She threw herself into advocating for animal rights, and it became her new mission. She wasn't just using her fame for herself anymore, she was using it to make a difference. From public service announcements for PETA, to writing the foreword for Paul, Prince of Katrina, a book on animal rescue after Hurricane Katrina, Allie was on fire for animal welfare. For her, it was more than just a cause, it was personal redemption, a way to make up for the pain life had handed her. By the time she hit her later years, Allie had grown into a completely new woman. Gone was the young girl lost in a whirlwind of love and heartbreak. Now she was a powerhouse, independent, confident, and owning her life. She learned to love herself, finding peace in the little things, gardening, painting, and reconnecting with old friends. In 2016, she even reunited with her former Love Story co-star Ryan O'Neal for the play Love Letters. That performance stirred up memories of a glorious past, reminding everyone of the magic they once shared on screen. But Ally didn't live in the past. She had no regrets, not even for the struggles she'd endured. She'd weathered storms, both personal and professional, but she never let them break her. Instead, she grew from them, becoming a woman of peace, resilience, and self-love. Ally McGraw knew that love could cost everything, but she also knew that the most important thing in life is never losing yourself. Through everything, she found her own tranquility, a peace that no amount of fame or fortune could ever buy. And that, my friend, is how Ally McGraw became a true legend, not just for her roles, but for the strength she showed off screen. When we reflect on Ally McGraw's life, it's clear she was more than just a star. She was a symbol of resilience and transformation. Sure, she dazzled in Hollywood, but it was the pain she endured that shaped her into the woman she became. Her marriage to Steve McQueen left deep, irreversible scars, but it also became the catalyst for her ultimate growth. The passionate love she shared with McQueen, the man she once believed could save, taught her one of life's harshest truths. Love alone is never enough to heal someone, especially when their past holds them captive. That painful relationship taught Ally a crucial lesson, that no one can sacrifice themselves endlessly for someone else without losing their own identity. Sometimes the only way to heal is to let go and walk away. But Ally McGraw's legacy isn't just about heartbreak and Hollywood glamour. It's also about the impact she made off-screen. Through her struggles, she became a powerful advocate for mental health, openly discussing her battles with addiction and showing the world that healing is possible. She wasn't just a Hollywood icon. She became a beacon of hope for those struggling with their own demons. Beyond that, Ally helped shift the public's perception of yoga and meditation. She didn't just tout them as physical practices, but as tools for healing the mind and soul. In her later years, she found peace in yoga, and she shared that peace with the world through her influential video, Ally McGraw, Yoga, Mind, and Body. Her advocacy didn't stop there. Ally McGraw became a fierce champion for animal rights, dedicating much of her time to protecting vulnerable animals. As an ambassador for Animals Asia, she lent her voice to those who couldn't speak for themselves, becoming an unwavering advocate for animal welfare. Through her work, she reminded us that true compassion extends beyond humans, and that it's our responsibility to protect the voiceless. In the end, Ally McGraw's life was about more than movies and fame. It was about survival, strength, and giving back. She turned her pain into purpose, and in doing so, became a legend not just for her roles on screen, but for the profound, lasting impact she made on the world. Her actions were more than just a duty. They became an essential part of her legacy, one built on empathy, dedication, and a deep commitment to making a difference. Ally McGraw's legacy, as she leaves her mark on the world, is a testament to the power of recovery. She showed the world that it's never too late to change, to heal, and to rediscover who you truly are. Her journey was far from perfect, riddled with mistakes and heartache, but she refused to let those experiences define her. Instead, Ally took her pain and turned it into a driving force to move forward, creating a life that had more meaning, more purpose, and more peace. Ally McGraw proved that resilience isn't about being invincible. It's about rising every time you fall, coming back stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. Today, in her 80s, Ally lives a quiet, simple life, one filled with joy and meaning. She spends her days painting, meditating, and caring for rescued dogs, savoring every moment with gratitude. No longer does she seek the spotlight of Hollywood to validate her worth. Instead, she finds true happiness in the small, simple joys that life has to offer. This new chapter of her life stands as a testament to her strength, her ability to reinvent herself, and her unshakable belief in the power of healing. Ally McGraw may have once been Hollywood's brightest star, but now she shines in the quiet beauty of her everyday existence. True freedom, as Ally McGraw's journey reveals, isn't found in fame or love, but in the ability to truly love yourself and live a life that's authentic to who you are. Ally's life story is a powerful testament to the strength it takes to break free from the chains of the past, to release the pressure to please others, and to finally embrace your own worth. She stumbled, loved deeply, and faced unimaginable pain, but ultimately, she found peace in a life that was truly her own. If you believe, like Ally McGraw, that true freedom lies in self-love and living life on your own terms, leave a comment saying, "Yes, Ally McGraw," if you find yourself understanding Steve McQueen's side of their relationship and feel for his struggles, leave a comment saying, "Yes, Steve McQueen," and let's keep this conversation going. Thank you for watching this emotional and dramatic tale of Hollywood's iconic couple, Ali MacGraw and Steve McQueen. If you're captivated by stories about Hollywood stars and influential figures, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos. We'll see you in the next one.